guys, welcome to
the brand new podcast, Young and in Love.
Young and in Love.
This is the podcast, Young and in Love. Hello, young lovers, and welcome to another episode of Young and in Love. Young and in Love. Again, I'm Josh.
And I'm Taylor.
We're the Andersons. And this is Young and in Love. Young and in Love. Young and in Love.
Young and in Love.
This is Young and in Love. Alright, we're just going to see how this goes. Welcome to episode 9 of Young and in Love. I'm your co-host, Josh.
And I'm Taylor, the other host.
We are the Andersons. Married now 8 months.
8 months.
The big 8 months. It's not much at all, but it's going by pretty quick. Thank you for tuning into another episode. We are glad you're here. We're glad you're listening, and we are thankful for your support. This week we will be branching off of last week's discussion about 5 love languages, and I don't have a recap, but Taylor, could you remind us as to what the 5 love languages are?
Physical touch, quality time, acts of service, gifts, and what's the other one? Oh, words of affirmation.
Yes, and those love languages are 5 simple summaries of the way that people like receiving love and enjoy being loved. And this week we're going to talk about a couple examples of people who have adapted to meet and this week we're going to be talking about one person in specific, but then us in general, about how we have adapted to meet each other's love languages and how we are continually striving to be better lovers. So I'm going to start you guys out with a little story time this week, a story that I like to tell, and a story that I will ask any sports fans out there to disregard whether or not you think he left his original team on good notice, or he simply did it because he wanted to get away and start something new. We're going to go off of the facts that his family gave us and the reasons why this individual did what he did and is where he is today. I am talking about none other than the Urban Meyer, who was the head football coach at the University of Florida, and had some serious health issues associated with risk and stress from his professional career as the head football coach of the Florida Gators. He was interned at the hospital for on several occasions for stress-related health issues, and inevitably ended up calling it quits as the head football coach to reevaluate his life and his priorities and try to adjust himself in order to better suit the needs around him. The specific part of his story that I would like to share today is the 10 mandates from his family that they insisted he follow if he were ever to consider coaching football ever again. And these came about when he was offered the position at The Ohio State University. And these are the demands. Number 1, these were all I will statements. So number 1 was, I will keep my family first. Number 2 was, I will maintain a good health. Number 3, I will go on a trip once a year with Nikki, which is one of his daughters. Number 4, I will spend less than 9 hours at the office every day. Number 5, I will sleep at night with my cell phone on silent. Number 6, I will communicate daily with my kids. Number 7, I will trust God's plan. Number 8, I will keep the lake house. Number 9, I will watch Nikki and Gigi, my mistake, play volleyball. And number 10, I will eat 3 meals a day. So these are some obvious statements because he needs to obviously maintain his health. The other ones are because his daughters and his wife did not feel loved, and therefore they were asking him to change so that he could love them the way that they needed to be loved. And this brings up an interesting point about balance and finding balance in each and every one of our lives, which is the point that I want to bring up today, is while we seek to love each other in the best ways possible, we have to find balance between work and family, find a balance between my personal needs and the needs of my partner, and then finding that balance of time together and time apart. Because when you are together 100% of the time, things can get a little irritating, which has happened a couple times in our relationship, which we'll probably cover today. And as an overall thesis statement, how can we live our separate lives being two different people in one relationship while simultaneously sharing everything with one another? We're going to take a quick moment and highlight one of our sponsors, Anchor.
So if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let us explain.
It's free. All you need to do is download their app or visit their website, which is anchor.fm.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
They will literally take care of all of the distribution services, so all you have to do on the day of is hit publish. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone using the app or computer if you'd much rather just use the website.
You can even make money from your podcast without even having one listener.
Yeah, without a single listener, they'll find sponsors that are willing to give you a chance and give you a shot at making money.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
So all we ask is that if you have a story to tell or a message to share, that you download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. When I had an idea to start a podcast, I had no idea where to start. But I had listened to Candace and Casey's Couples Therapy, and they had mentioned an app called Anchor. And I was really intrigued to see how really simple it could be to make a podcast.
Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means that you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad.
So, if you always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's Anchor, as in ANCHOR.FM/START to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. I can't wait to hear your guys' podcasts. Finding balance in work and family life. Taylor, how do you think you do at this?
I think I do pretty well.
Yeah?
At this, yeah. So a while ago, I was a full-time preschool teacher, and that was a lot. And I don't know, I took home a lot of the stress of all the kids and, like, the parents and their situation, and sort of the stress of things, like, not really getting sorted out with, like, the management at school, trying to, like, help these kids and their families. So I'd take it home, and I really, like, wasn't myself, and I don't know, I was sort of, like, really distant. So I made the change to go to part-time. Obviously, like, not everyone can do that in their situation, but I realized that one of the reasons for doing that, I needed to put my family first and sort of get things back in order, and it wasn't necessary for me to be working full-time anyways, so I sort of took a step back.
Could you please explain how, when you came home, how the stresses from being full-time at a preschool were changing who you were at home?
Oh, I would just come home, and I was so burnt out from being there from like 8:30 in the morning to after 6 every night, dealing with a bunch of 4 and 5-year-olds and their parents, and I don't know, I didn't want to talk. I didn't really want to do anything. All I did was want to eat food, like work out maybe, and then go to bed. I didn't want to do anything else.
And did our relationship change at all?
Yeah. I think you said, like, several times to me that, like, you missed me just because we weren't, like, doing anything. We weren't really talking. We weren't really hanging out. We were just sort of going on with our own lives, but nothing was ever said about them.
I think the most significant difference that I saw in you was your lack of patience with me at home.
That was also a huge thing. I would like snap at things that, like, I don't normally ever, like, bother me at all. Like, really tiny things. It was actually, like, really, really ridiculous.
Cool. And now that you've gone to part-time and sort of reduced that day-to-day stress, but still have stressful situations at school sometimes, how do you deal with that differently now?
Now I have time to, like, work out on my own time. That doesn't interfere with family time. So when I get home, I'll, like, spend an hour at the gym and then go home, like, get dinner ready, do everything. So I sort of have that time to decompress. And then if something is still bothering me, or I just want to get something off my chest, I'll bring it up, like, during dinner, like, about, like, what happened at school. And then that's it. I don't bring it up again. Like, it's, I don't know, move on. But I don't think it affects how I act. I think I'm my normal, like, happy self by the time you get home now.
Yeah, and I can completely agree with that. It was a pretty rough 2 months, I'd say, right? 2.5 months, because it was misleading for me. I didn't exactly know what was going on, because she would shut down before she even got home. So it was difficult for me to either try and open her up or simply have a decent conversation over dinner. And it was a hard thing to bring up in conversation as well, because I don't want to be hurtful, but I need to be taken seriously. And if you sugarcoat too many things, then people perceive it as candy, and they just brush it under the rug. So it was a very difficult time for us, finding that balance between work and family. And she's got it now. She's her normal self. She's back to being the woman I fell in love with. Not that she changed dramatically during that time, but it was difficult not having her as my companion and, like, my teammate during that time, because I do need that, and I look forward to having that each and every day. Fortunately for me, on my end, working in an architecture firm, you have long-term deadlines and short-term deadlines. So with short-term deadlines, obviously you have less time to complete them, so less flexibility in work hours, more meetings, things like that. The firm that I work at, we generally have longer deadlines and more flexibility in our day-to-day schedule. So if Taylor needs me at home during the morning, I can go in later in the day, or if we need to do something after work, usually I can work it out with my boss to leave a little early and come in early the next day to hit that 40-hour work week mark. And therefore, it's a lot easier for me to find balance between work and family. I assume and can probably guarantee that will become ever more difficult with the more responsibility that I take on at work later on in life, and as family responsibilities also grow with future children. This is not a pregnancy announcement. Future children, and the needs that they will have as well. So maybe my time is coming. This topic is probably the hardest one for me to figure out. And I think for any newlywed, this is probably going to be the most difficult. Any newlywed in their 20s, sort of our same situation, because they don't call your 20s the decade of decisions for no reason. You have to make a lot of life-changing decisions for yourself. Very personal decisions. Not much affects other people around you, such as where you're going to go to school, what you're going to major in, what's your first job going to be, where you're going to intern at, what kind of pay you want to negotiate, whether or not you want to stay in the field you're in, and what your first car is going to be, if you're going to rent, if you're going to buy. It's all very selfish stuff when you think about my needs, my personal needs. What do I need? I. What am I going to major in? It's a lot of my needs. So, yeah, go for it.
And then throwing another person into the mix of it, so it's no longer your needs. It's your partner's needs, too. Because after you're married, I mean, what's mine is yours, right? So, I mean, you got to not only take care of yourself, but also take care of your partner.
Yeah, and their needs in the relationship. Right, specifically referencing last week that we talked about the 5 love languages, it's imperative that we figure out what those needs are pertaining to their language or their love languages, because then we can adapt what we're used to or what we would typically do in order to fit those needs. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves incredibly frustrated in the relationship, because in our minds, we're doing the best we can to love our partner. But if we're not loving them in the way that they need to receive love, then that effort is for naught. It goes wasted and it goes by the wayside, because your partner doesn't see that as an adequate effort. So, Taylor, what do you do in order to try and balance the difference, or to balance your personal needs versus my partner needs?
Well, I'm the type of person where I always put myself last. Or, like if everything is broken around me and, like, I'm broken too, like, I'll fix everyone else's pieces and, like, forget to put my pieces together. So, if I don't know, let's say, like, we're both in, like, a really, like, stressful situation, or, like, I'm really upset about something, but you're also, like, really stressed out about something, or, like, upset about something, I'll always, like, put whatever I'm dealing with, like, aside to try and, like, help you. Good and bad, I guess. What was the question?
Just what you do in order to balance my needs versus your needs.
Oh.
So, You answered the question.
I answered the question, but is there a balance?
Yeah. But you answered it with an imbalance.
It's to be fair, I have gotten a lot better at like self-care, self-love, all that jazz. But it's not as nearly as destructive as it used to be. I'm a lot more aware of like what I need and like when I need it. So like things don't get out of control. So I guess with just the type of person I am, like that is my balance. Like, so it's no longer destructive on my part, but I'm still able to like help you while like staying okay, I guess.
Yeah, it really comes down to, I think, how you used to be is, yeah, you would see like your life falling apart or your puzzle falling apart and the pieces becoming unraveled, but then you would see someone else's puzzle unraveling right next to yours, and you're like, oh no, I can't watch them fall. It's almost like she was climbing a cliff, starts to see her own rope fall to the ground, but then the person right next to her starts falling too, and she's like, no, wait, I'll save you. And they're both falling. And now she does a really good job of being self-aware of really, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you do a really good job of figuring out where you are and just how much you can help, which is a huge difference. You are now aware of your situation and you think, how much can I realistically do in this situation? And how much can I just like comfort me as your partner, and while you collect yourself and get yourself in a position to help more, which I think is really good at balancing. My dad said it really well on my behalf. My dad said it really well back in our third episode, whenever we had our parents on here.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard it yet, I would go back. The episode title is called The Past That Made Us or something.
Yeah.
It was right before our past relationships episode, which might have been right before the Table Topics episode. It's back at the beginning. So if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. My dad said that I've always been really aware of my own needs, and he's not quite sure I can get any better until I have a kid, which was eye-opening for me. And since then, I have noticed that oftentimes I will take the more selfish route and put my needs ahead of those that are around me, which is difficult to, one, come to the self-realization that you're a selfish person, and then number two, change years and years of that habit. And obviously there's some people who have known me for a long time and gone through very personal things with me in my life, and they could probably without a doubt call me and go, yeah, you idiot, I could have told you that 7 years ago. And I would appreciate the criticism, and I would laugh it off, because my dad used to always make this joke where he said, does the village idiot know that he's an idiot? Because like he's too stupid to know. Which like comes back, it's probably an old proverb or something, comes back to that same question. Like, does a selfish man really know that he's acting selfish if he only ever thinks about himself? Christmas break 2016 to New Year's 2017.
Yikes.
Taylor, would you like to give a quick synopsis on what exactly happened?
Okay, my memory is really foggy, so he's probably going to have to clear up a lot. But I was... Oh, okay. So I didn't have a car. So I was, instead of going home, or after Christmas, I came back. Was that what happened?
Either or.
Okay, so I'm guessing after Christmas. You didn't come home for Christmas, did you?
I don't think so.
Oh.
because that was right after San Francisco.
Okay, so for some reason, I didn't have a car, and I was staying at his parents' house in Cincinnati instead of my dorm room. Oh, because my dorm room was closed for the holidays, so that's why. Okay, so I was staying at his house instead of going home. And so for 2 weeks, like 2.5 weeks, we were staying at his parents' house, and you didn't have your car yet. So yeah, we were like living in the same house, and we like really didn't go anywhere like a lot, and we were bored, and we felt like we had nothing to talk about or nothing to do, and we broke up. Like it was bad. You need to clarify. I just know. Yeah, you go.
So I'll just give you the internal dialogue that was going on in Josh's head back then. Was after day 3 of being together 24 hours a day, I started thinking to myself, I think I'm going to go mad. Because, yeah, college winter break always gets out before high school. My mom works as a manager for the school cafeteria. So she was gone during the day. My dad was gone during the day. All of my brothers were gone during the day. So it was just Taylor and I stuck at home without a car, nothing to do, because I didn't want to like leave her out and like go play video games or something like that. But then when we were together, we really were in a weird situation in our relationship and didn't really know what we wanted to do and couldn't get out of the house because we didn't have a car. And I just started questioning everything. Like, wow, if I can't even spend 3 days with this girl, how am I going to spend my entire life? And so on and so forth. And they snowballed from there. And you called Cindy.
Yeah.
Right? And you were like super worried. So how'd that conversation go? Do you remember?
Oh, well, I just asked, like, what do you do when there's, like, nothing to do? And she's like, well, like, sometimes, like, I don't know, you don't have things to talk about. Just because, like, you are together, like, all the time. But, like, you can find other things to do. I mean, her recommendations are more for, like, married folk. So, like, at the time, some of them didn't apply. She was like, oh, like, you can have sex. Or, like, I don't know, you can play, like, a board game or go on a walk. Like, all this stuff. And I was like, okay, like, we do, like, some of that. But, like, I don't know. So she explained that, like, the feelings were, like, normal. But I don't know.
But in a longer relationship, those moments typically don't happen.
Right.
Was her conclusion.
Right.
So we got through 2 weeks, obviously. Not well.
No.
Not well at all.
And our relationship, like, while, like, during this break was already pretty rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got through it, but when we finally worked stuff out and just sort of moved on, and got some pretty serious issues out of the way, and cleared up some bad blood, some rough air, I came away with the understanding, like, wow, I need some personal time. Like, I cannot spend 24 hours with one individual. I have a rough enough time with myself, spending 24 hours with myself. So add a second person into the mix who I don't completely understand, like I understand myself. It got super rough. So we do a really good job now.
Yeah.
With balancing our together time and our personal time. So I'll start so that Taylor knows sort of the idea that I had with this segment. I love to play sports, so I go out of my way to find people who I can go play sports with. So whether that be playing basketball with some guys from church early in the morning, or playing ultimate frisbee with the missionaries on Mondays. It's the little things like that get me out of the house, get me around other people, and also helps me really realize the great catch that I have. Because when I'm not around you, then I miss you. And then I'm that much more willing to come home and to see you again. So really going out of like my way to find things to do with other people, and to do that once, twice a week for a couple hours, just to get out of the house, get some fresh air, a change of scenery. And Taylor does some other personal things.
Yeah, so I like to go outside. I like to go on walks. I like to walk the dog when I'm alone. He's at work. So like I'll do that, throw on a podcast, like listen to some music. Sometimes I'll read. I really like self-help books. So I like to read a lot of Brené Brown, if you know who that is. If you don't, look her up because she's amazing. And I like to go to the gym. That's what Josh was just hinting at. But yeah, I like to go. She likes
to lift up heavy things and put them back down.
Yeah, I like to go lift weights. Recently I've been doing a lot of like low intensity cardio just because it gets I'm doing it out of the house and I can like watch my TV or like YouTube while I'm also like exercising, so I'm not just like sitting on my butt doing it in our apartment. So I'll do that a lot more often. Then yeah, I'll lift weights and just sort of, I don't know, make myself like feel good, know that I'm like also making progress and like maintaining my like strength, and I don't know, it's nice, gets me out of the house, gets me feeling good, got those happy endorphins flowing through my body before he comes home.
Yeah. So it's small but simple measures that help us really maintain like a healthy amount of time together and away from one another. It's a difficult topic to share because obviously everybody has different needs, which leads to different opinions. So we're not saying that this is a prescription for a healthy relationship. Right. We're simply describing what has worked in our relationship and what difficulties we've had.
And we're still figuring it out. Like it's definitely not perfect, but we have come a long way. So we will continue to figure it out.
Yeah, and as times change and our situation changes and our living standards change, obviously things change with us. So it's a constant battle to find that inner balance and that relationship balance, which brings up this overarching thesis of living separate lives while sharing everything. So maintaining our individualism while supporting and strengthening a relationship. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's very hard to do.
But at the same time, it is so crucial because I think it's so important, because when you're in a relationship or a marriage, I think it can be so easy for yourself to just lose yourself in the relationship and do everything that like your spouse wants to do, or do a ton of things that you know are going to make them happy, but you never focus on yourself. So little by little, you stop doing the things that you care about and that you like to do, and so you turn into this person that's like not really you, but it's not your spouse either. So then you're not you anymore. Like you turn into like another person, you know. So it's really important to keep doing the things that you care about and to do the things that you like to do and to have that me time. So you still stay the person, like you stay the person that you are, and you improve on that so that you're still like always that person that like your partner fell in love with.
Yeah, which was the point that I was going to make, is if you both are always trying to fit a mold that you think your partner needs, and sacrificing your own personality and characteristics to fit that mold, you will end up becoming someone that neither of you like, because it's a mold of the two of you together, and it's neither of you, your partner will begin to fall out of love with you because you're no longer the person that they fell in love with.
And I think that and I think that's what's so great about like our relationship is that before we got married, we had already known each other and like dated for like 2 years. So I already knew a lot about you, knew what you liked, knew what you didn't like, knew how to be myself around you, was completely comfortable being myself around you, didn't really care if you saw the bad, the ugly, like whatever. So going into the relationship, I knew that I didn't have to, like going into the marriage, I knew that I didn't have to put on a fake face, or I didn't have to act a certain way just so like you'd be impressed, or that you'd like me, or that, I don't know, I'd get laid later or whatever, like, but not to like bash like other couples, but I think a lot of like young Christian couples will get married really fast without actually really knowing each other, and so I think it can be easy for people in that situation too.
Yeah. Well, let me put a more positive spin on what she's trying to say. If you find yourself in a relationship or a marriage where you have married earlier than normal, where you don't have that typical year-long, 2-year-long dating period, year-long engagement, then you're married, it's going to require a lot more patience because you have this period of time where you're still figuring out who your spouse is. And what we encourage you to do is to really sit down and think, one, you can start with these love languages because it's a really good baseline to figure out what your partner needs and how they accept love. And then you can build from there. So then you figure out who your partner is and who you are and make sure that you maintain that while being the best partner that you can be. And that way you can build that strong relationship that we fortunately had 2 years to build. And you, through either circumstance or personal choice, may not have that extended period of time. But just understand that you will need time to get to know each other and to learn. And again, we're not perfect. We're still figuring it out. So there are days where we don't communicate well and we don't see each other eye to eye. But we know. Today being one of those days. Yesterday, really.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's all fizzling out. So we're laughing over what we were fighting over. Which in the end ended up being dirty dishes.
Yeah, it always comes down to the dishes, guys. Always.
So, thank you for bearing with us through this most likely 40-minute podcast. We love that you guys stick around. We'd love to see your comments and your suggestions on social media. You can find us at Young Love PC on all social media platforms. It's Young and in Love on Facebook, but it's Young Love PC on Twitter and Instagram. We would appreciate if you subscribe and give us a rating on iTunes, because the more ratings you get on iTunes, the more reviews you get, the higher up on the podcast list you get. So under our topic, we're probably way down on the bottom because we have 2 reviews.
One for me, one for you.
You gotta do what you gotta do. It's the early starts. Also, share it on your timelines, your Facebook, your Instagram stories. Share it wherever people can find it, so that we can help more people who are in love or looking for love stay in love or find love. And that way we can always grow together and make this world just a little bit better.
We love you. We thank you.
And we will see you in the next one.